Unrestricted, the official podcast of All Elite Wrestling, where we talk to awesome people that work on camera, behind the camera, and everywhere in between here at AEW, just learning more about the company and the amazing people that make this team. It's absolutely incredible. Speaking of team, how's my friend Will Washington feeling today?
Not great.
No.
You know, they tell you that it was like one of the first things I was warned about when starting in AEW and being on the road so much is that, you know, I work in a business where I am constantly on planes in airports. And it's also a very handshake oriented business. And and being so, I have never been more sick in my life than I've gotten over the last year or so. Just like it feels like maybe once a month.
Really?
But I was on but then I feel like I built up, like my first few months in AEW, it was like I was getting sick all the time. And then I must have built up some kind of immunity, because then I went like a year and I just was not sick. And then this week it just hit me. I was coming home from TV. I was coming home from a Wednesday and it just hit me on the plane. And then I landed and it just started getting worse and worse. And now I'm just like here and raspy and congested.
Right? Yeah, I feel like I get sick less often because of the same reasons. Like I'm on airplanes all the time. When we have a show, we have like near 250, 300 people backstage, and then you have crowds of thousands of people. So you're just sort of around enough people that like the immunity does kind of build up.
Yeah.
But like
I said, it killed me the first couple of months. I was just getting sick all the time.
Dude, yeah, I think I can't remember because it was like 5 years ago if that happened, but it probably did. But it's one of those things where like I don't get sick often anymore. But right after the weekend I worked in Arlington, it was like 3 days. And with Dynamite, it was like 4 shows in 5 days. I got so sick. And the fact that I don't get sick anymore, I was just a huge baby about it. Like, I can't move. I'm so tired. This is terrible. Just hawking up terrible shit everywhere. Like, it was so bad. But it's one of those things where even though it's bad, it's great because we work at such an awesome place. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be healthy because it's like, cool, I get to travel and see all my friends. And this is great.
Yeah, like I always look forward to the relief. And so I said all that to say that on this particular show, I will probably give the reins more so to my good buddy, Aubrey Edwards. But
happy to help.
Yeah, but I will say I'm very excited about this show because we've got some very, very cool guests today. Who do we got here, Aubrey?
We are joined today by some of my new favorite friends. We're joined by like so many people. We have so many guests on this podcast. We've got the Von Erichs. We've got Kevin. We've got Ross. And we've got Marshall. Hey, guys. How you doing today?
How are you today, guys?
Hey.
We're good.
Hey.
Thank you for having us.
It's good. I also just wanted to say thank you for all of the professional podcast equipment. You guys all look like freaking pros right now. This is great.
Keyword.
It is pretty crazy. We've never gotten that before, so this is foreign for us too. to be prepared.
No, honestly, this is, I think for our listeners, this is going to be a great experience for them, as everybody's going to sound crystal clear and
high quality.
I know, right? This is definitely professional podcast.
It really
you
is.
know, I love that you all use StreamYard because it makes it a lot easier, and we use it for our podcast as well. But we'll have when we have like an older wrestler on, they'll use their phone or whatever, and I forget who it was, but we had somebody on and they were on their cell phone, and it basically sounded like they're in a wind tunnel the whole time. Yep. And they turn the phone around and they're sitting by one of those huge floor fans. And we just could barely pick up what they were saying the whole time. So this does help having microphones.
Well, that's actually a good transition point for a sec, because tell us about the Von Erichs podcast.
Yeah, so we started a podcast. Ross, how long have we been doing the podcast? A few months now, right?
Say about 4 months, maybe.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's called the Von Erich Podcast. And so on that one channel, we have Ross and I, our show, and then my sister and my cousin Holly, my Uncle Carrie's daughter, they have Growing Up Von Erich. And so it's which is really cool because they talk about, when they just growing up in the sportatorium, growing up around wrestling. And then they have a lot of second, third generation not necessarily wrestlers, but just, children of wrestlers on, but some wrestlers or whatever. And then me and Ross, we talk about anything on ours. We had Bill Goldberg on recently and Rob Van Dam, and it's cool just to catch up with people and talk. And then we've been doing Q&As, and they love that with my dad, because my dad he's a one-liner king. He's great at one-liners.
Oh, I'm excited for today. This is a nice little preview. Anyway.
Yeah, no pressure, Dad.
No pressure. So first off, I want to start and say congratulations. You guys are the Ring of Honor World 6-man champions. This is incredible. I feel very lucky because I got to hand you guys your championships after an incredible match at Battle of the Belts. So it's Ross and Marshall along with Dustin Rhodes, which is just kind of crazy if you think about it, that you have in 2014 champions with both the Rhodes family and the Von Erich family.
2024.
So 2024. I don't even know what year it is. My bingo card's all messed up. But like it's crazy, right? So like Ross, let's start with you. What does this feel like for you to hold gold with both your brother and someone like Dustin?
Man, it really didn't completely sink in until a few days later. Like, it all happened at once. Like, that was all a surprise for the wrestlers to come out there, like Shibata and all these crazy, we have so much respect for these guys. And you, by the way, were an amazing referee. Me and Marshall were talking about it after.
Oh,
it was extremely smooth, very good experience. But yeah, it's surreal. And having my dad there, I mean, words can't even really describe it. It was, I'm glad that the world got to see that wrestling moment right there. It was huge for us.
Yeah, we
Marshall,
wanted people.
What about you? Yeah,
we wanted people to because we got a lot of new people coming in after the movie that want to know more about my dad, and we want them to know that it is there's a happy ending, because my dad, he is one of the most joyful dudes I've ever met. He's constantly walking around with a smile on his face. He has over 15 grandchildren just constantly all over him. He's on the 4-wheeler. He's the best babysitter ever. His cup runneth over. He's
that's wrong.
He's one of the happiest guys ever. But to be able to experience that, because we've had moments, beautiful moments in the ring with Dad. But what was weird is, as Ross and I have gotten into wrestling, it's been almost like a quest to get to know our uncles better, because my brother and I, we've these guys were our heroes, and we have a ton of nieces and nephews, so we try to be the uncles that we didn't have, and we would have loved to have our uncles around growing up. And we had a little bit of my Uncle Kerry or whatever, but to go and experience that with Dustin, and then my dad being there to witness it. And Dustin said something, it meant a lot to me, but his dad wasn't able to witness what had happened that night. But there was almost like closure in a way, him being there seeing that our dad, being there as well. And my dad was almost there on Dusty's behalf. It was just a beautiful, real moment. But kind of off what my brother said, you really are our favorite person up over there at AEW.
Yeah, we brought it up like 3 times. We're not just
we brought it up 3 times. You're the whole time, like during the match too. Like, I've never had a referee just update me on how the match is going, how I look, and it was
tell you guys you're doing awesome.
Yeah,
oh my God.
I think every referee should do that, because it built my confidence up so much. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm doing good, because you really don't know.
I'm like, hey, dude, that bump looked crazy. You okay?
Yeah.
Cool, because it was fucking sick.
yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, I just felt so much better. And I was like, I told Ross, and I was like, you're going to love her, dude. She's awesome.
Fantastic. All right. Kevin, same question for you. What was it like being there and seeing your sons win gold?
Well, I got to tell you, I am the happiest man you ever met. I've got grandchildren, and I've been so proud to watch these boys, both of them, Ross and Marsh. They were phenomenal athletes when they were young, and I saw every practice, every game. It was because, not that I'm supportive, but because I really just can't wait to see what they do next. Really, they're just, when I see them in the ring, it's like, it reminds me so much of my brothers, because in between moves, in between you're in the ring, when you're just killing time, or certain things that happen during a match, I'll see my sons doing it. It'll take me back. And then the way they can read each other's mind is the way my brothers and I did it too. You don't need to talk. You know what he's about to do. And it's like, it's kind of overwhelming to me, and like, I don't want to, sound like a wimp or whatever, but when my boys are wrestling, especially with that title match out there, I was like getting choked up, and the camera was right on me. And so I'm crying on TV, I've never done that before, and it's like, I couldn't help it though. It was just busting out of me, and it was a great night, and a great title. And you know what? Let me say this. Dusty was my friend, and we're old timers, and so it's just like my sons are Dusty's sons and Dustin is my son, because it's like, I know how he thinks. He's a Texan. He's made of steel, and he doesn't step backwards. I admire that boy, and he's a hard worker, and he fit right in with my sons. It was a beautiful match.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Actually, that leads to my next question. How did you guys all get paired together with Dustin? Ross, tell us a little bit of insight in that.
So we were in Marshall, was it San Antonio we were at? But
it was
Austin. Yeah. We just happened to bump into Dustin before the show, and it was really, we just hit it right off. It was our first time meeting. And then he's like, hey, I'm going to be right back. And he went and talked to Tony.
And I remember that he came into the office, and
yeah.
I remember exactly what he said, but we'll save that for another date. But how did that? How did that?
Oh no, man!
What did he come back with?
I really want to know what he said. But anyway, so he came back later, and he's like, hey, they're kicking around the idea that we might do something together, and we just got so pumped. We were like, oh man, that would be so awesome. And then come to find out, like, okay, it's legit. We have a 6-man tag match, and it was probably the funnest, shortest match we ever had, but we just wanted to do it again so bad. And here we are now. It was awesome.
And it was almost a perfect set of circumstances too, when you really think about the fact that we ended up going into our run in Arlington. We have this vacant set of 6-man titles, and obviously it was a spot that very much wanted to see the Von Erich family, and coming off the buzz of the movie, and I think everything just worked out in such a way that made for this special moment to happen in Arlington, in the debut in the esports arena, and just everything worked out so well. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the opposition on the other side, working with the Undisputed Kingdom.
Oh
man,
dude. That's been, because we've watched these guys for so long anyway, but there's been so many like bucket list matches that we've gotten to do just in the short time we've been over at AEW. Like Roderick Strong, I've always wanted to get in the ring with him anyway. But those guys, Dustin he prepped us a little bit. He's like, hey, tomorrow's gonna be nuts, guys. It's gonna be hard hitting, and that's honestly how Ross and I like it. We came up in Japan. We like to feel it. We like to, because my dad put it. He kind of put that in our heads. He said when he was at Sportatorium, he was playing college football at the same time, and his teammates would want to come watch him wrestle. And he said, he's like, I didn't want to get embarrassed. I wanted them, when they came, I wanted them to believe what I was doing. And I wanted to, make it something that they would, go home and be like, what the hell was that? And so it put it in Ross and I's head, or in our heads, that, we just love that snug style of wrestling, and they were all about it. And Dustin prepped us. And so it was the perfect match for us. We loved every second of it. And this whole experience has just been so like humbling. I didn't know how like cool everyone was going to be at AEW. The locker room, it's like the happiest locker room. Everybody's like just joy. It really feels like it was just like it was made for us. Like all the guys in the locker room. We've had some of the best conversations, and then the fans are just unbelievable. We were, so humbled that that we were able to wrestle for AEW in the DFW area, Arlington, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. Being able to do that was just it was like a dream come true, because Ross and I, we've talked about this for months before we were in talks with anybody. That was the ultimate goal. Yeah, that was the ultimate goal, is to we told each other and Dad, especially after the movie came out and we were on Busted Open, and we basically put it out there that we want to, people, when they Google my dad, we want them to see the story that his sons are not only doing what he did, following his footsteps, but successful at it. And, we're not in wrestling to get famous or anything like that. We could have tried to go to WWE a long time ago. We were in it for a totally different reason. We want to, of course, the Von Erichs being a household name, that's been a mission. That's been a mission. But before that, it was just a quest to get to know our family better, and to prove my dad right. My dad really has been the number one supporter from the start, and we did not believe in ourselves in Japan. We were like 0-70, just getting our butts kicked every day in the dojo, doing young boy stuff, and it was just an extremely humbling experience. But it made us fall in love with wrestling, because now these payoffs are coming. Those years and years of just putting in work like that, and then have a payoff like that with Dustin, with my dad. It was a really like humbling moment. It was impossible for it to sink in that night. So it took about 3 or 4 days. And when we all got home, made eye contact and started talking, it was like, did that really just happen? It was emotional and awesome. This made me re-fall in love with professional wrestling. It's by far the funnest time in my career. And I know
my sons are starting are really going to shoot to the top. I just know this. They're going to take this business by the storm. They really are. But let me say that I knew this was going to happen. I really did. And I always told them, that you do your best, you put it out there, but all you've got, and that's where the reward is. And I just got to tell you, I'm so proud of them. And they're the kind of kids I knew people would say, you had it easy because of the Von Erich name. And I put them in that dojo over there in Japan. For so long, it's a cement cell. They just work out all day long, and it's hell. It's really hell. And I thought it would discourage them, but when they came home, they weren't discouraged, and they're a little bit. But with a good man, it's easy to encourage a good man. And I told them this day was coming, and they didn't believe me, of course, but I knew it would, and I'm so happy that here we are. It's just, I couldn't be more proud of him.
There's so many things that he's ended up being right about, that it's it really was cool. And we feel like we've gotten to know my dad better. Like, as we've been wrestling, everything Dad's always said is just makes more and more, even his sense of humor, like everything just makes more and more sense. And so we've gotten just a lot closer. We've become, father and son, but it's almost like he's like our big brother too. So it really is. Wrestling has bonded us even more.
I love that. And
this whole podcast, man.
Yeah, honestly, it's been great. And I want to hear more about this experience in Japan. So I think we'll get to that on the other side of this break. Coming up, we've got more here with the Von Erichs right here on AEW Unrestricted.
AEW Unrestricted. We've got the Von Erichs, we've got Will Washington, we've got me, Aubrey Edwards. We're talking a lot of stuff. This is just a phenomenal family affair on this podcast. And I'm all smiles just sitting here listening to like how great everything is, and just how I love that this is like the happy ending almost. Like, it's not an end, it's obviously still continuing. It's the next chapter. But it's sort of like, it's great given that everything you guys have been through as a family and the history of it all. It's nice to see so many positives, and to see just you guys with all of your demeanor, like just Kevin being the happiest guy in the world, which we now know. And then you too, like Marshall and Ross, just it's all smiles. It's all wonderful, which is exactly like what wrestling is. If it's not fun and you're not having fun, like, why the hell are you doing it, right?
100%.
Having a great time. That's the truth.
100%. So before we get to, because we were talking about Japan a little bit in our last segment, before we get to that, I have a quick question for Kevin. How did you feel Zac Efron did in the movie portraying you?
I thought he did I thought he did a great job, really. You know, he didn't know that much about me, but, you know, before I say anything, we should maybe all take a minute. Zach had an accident where a swimming pool or something, and I think he's doing all right. Everybody say a good prayer for him. Think about him tonight before you go to bed, because he's a great kid. He really is a good guy, and he loved the business, and I mean, he loved doing that match and learning wrestling. All of them did, and so I wish them the best. I hope I hope they have a great career and do well.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we gotta talk about Japan. So you guys go to the dojo and like the 0-70.
Yeah,
just young boy life, right? Ross, we'll start with you. What was that experience like?
So like the first like week, you're just getting acclimated and stuff, and then of course it's the 1,000 squats, 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 jump, you know, all that stuff every day. And then us being new, we had to go in the corner and face the wall, like this close to the wall. We weren't allowed to face the wrestlers as they were training, and we were just supposed to shut up and do all our stuff. And then when we're done, then we could lift weights. Like we got the privilege to lift weights. And then after that, you go down there and you cook the rest of the veterans. You cook their chanko, their food, and but like after a few weeks of it, you're kind of getting acclimated, and you're just made peace with being homesick, and things are different, and nobody speaks the language. And once you get past all that, it's, you know, anytime someone's in like a kind of a miserable situation, you just make the most of it. And that's kind of what we did. We tried to have fun and joke around, and, you know,
having your brother there made it a lot easier, because we were able to like joke with each other. And what's weird is when you're in a foreign place for long enough, like the dumbest stuff will make you laugh. And so we were a lot of that trip where we were, you know, just cracking each other up. And you know, it was a culture shock 100%. When we first got there, you know, the training was just super intense. And then, you know, the amount of bumps that we did, it was unbelievable. There's so many bumps, but it was cool. They pounded the fundamentals of professional wrestling in us. It was all hip tosses and body slams and, you know, backdrops. Oh my gosh, so many backdrops. And we made the mistake of trying to show off when we did a backdrop, because the first one I did, I used my arms and I got way up there, and Ross can jump way higher than I can. So he was like, dude, I can outdo you. And he did it even higher. And all the wrestlers stopped working out and circled the ring and said, do it again, do it. And so I think we did like 40 apiece. And then after 20, your neck starts giving out and start getting whiplash. And it was just brutal. And I was like, man, did they see what they want to say? Like, what are they looking for? Like, we've done it like 80 times together.
They're looking to break your soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to make you throw up.
Yeah, right? That's what it felt like. But it gave us a whole new respect for professional wrestling, because it was the way it's looked at over there. It's almost like how we look at like NFL football players here. It's very, very respected. And going to traveling with Pro Wrestling Noah, we learned so much, and we didn't realize like the legends that were with us, training us, like Morofuji, Kobashi. And we studied so much, Shibata so much. That's why it really was like a dream come true, getting to meet with Shibata, because Shibata is like really was like our, you know, we watched so much tape of him growing up, or Shibata and Kenta. They were our favorite tag team. And so getting to meet him here at AEW was really, really cool for us. We're trying to, you know, not look stupid, but yeah, we were marking out pretty hard.
It's really great because like I didn't grow up watching wrestling. So a lot of my knowledge of wrestling I'm learning now, and like embarrassingly so, I didn't know a lot of history about the Von Erich family. So I've been learning a lot in sort of the last year. And when we were going over the match, and then someone's like, oh yeah, and then Shibata comes out, I'm like, that seems kind of random. And then like hearing about it, it's like, oh, that's not random at all. This is so cool that we can like make this moment come full circle, and it's meaningful for you guys. It's so cool.
It was so meaningful. And then not to mention Shibata, I can't believe he's in my phone. He gave me his number. Like, we text now, which is crazy. and he texted me a picture of his dad reffing my dad's match, and blew my mind. It was crazy because I didn't even know his dad was a referee, so it freaked me out. And so it was it's just so cool. It really is so cool. Like I dress like Shibata on purpose. I think Shibata, I love that he is just like, everybody gets decked out in crazy gear, but Shibata's just black trunks, his flag,
Black trunks,
simple,
that's it.
you know. And so, and he actually complimented me. He's like, "Hey, I like I like your attire." And I was like, "Man, no one's ever told me I dress cool ever. Like, I dress so plain. I wear trunks and knee pads. That's it."
A true statement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Friggin' great. Awesome. Well, we're talking about Japan, but I want to talk about Hawaii because it's just such a beautiful place. Kevin, I know that you sort of moved the family over to Hawaii. What was sort of the thing that drew you to such a wonderful place?
Well, my sons really, but I feel like it's the most healthy, optimum growing conditions to raise your son. And they eat fresh fish, fresh fruit. We raise our own sheep. They ate healthy. They woke up healthy. They spear their own fish. They throw the casting net. They can catch crabs in the river. They can go out and get lobsters at midnight on the reef. And it's just a natural, good way to raise good, healthy athletes. And I just thought it was perfect for me. Every time I came home from Hawaii, I was so healthy. I practically glowed in the dark. And so I knew it'd be good for them, you know, and it really was. It was just because an athlete, like we just talked about exhaustion, you always go to exhaustion because that's where the prize is. And that's my sons. I wanted them to do their very best. They pour their hearts into whatever they do, and so I also want them to have the best food, the best air, the cleanest water, you know, everything I could put together, and thank God it all happened. And here we are.
So beautiful.
It's like
Hawaii
naked and afraid all the time.
That makes it sound like.
Right? No, we were talking about it before we started recording that like Hawaii is just such a great place because everyone wakes up with the sun and then they go to bed when the sun goes down.
Yeah,
so I feel like everyone just gets more sleep in Hawaii. It's like, all right, it's 8:30. It's time to go to bed, guys. And then
you're right.
Right?
Yeah, I've had some like the deepest sleeps. When I went back like a few weeks ago, I slept outside the whole time. I literally slept on the porch and I slept like so deep. I'd wake up, you know, when you just come from a deep sleep, you're just like, whoa, what happened? Like it was crazy. I had some of the best sleeps ever in Hawaii. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Ross,
you don't
what's
need
your favorite
AC
part of
there.
Hawaii?
Well, like probably like the most interesting thing is that you don't need AC. Like as long as you have a fan with the humidity and stuff,
Yeah.
like have that fan blasting on you and you're good. It only gets like at night it gets like sometimes it'll get low like 60s or 70s, but it's perfect no matter what.
Yeah, like you said, low 60s and 70s. It's like, oh, that's the freaking dream, man. That's
yeah. You get the hot nights too, but yeah, the fan helps.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, with that experience in Hawaii, you know, how much exposure to wrestling do you end up getting being in Hawaii at that point?
You know, because we're midway from Japan, so that was the cool part. Is our flights to Japan were 5-6 hours. It wasn't that bad, and when we would meet when we got there, because we didn't know a lot of like the Japanese wrestling history. We were fresh out of like high school, and so it was. I think we went to Japan when I was about 18, and to do the young boy thing. We went to Harley Race's academy first for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then we met the Japanese scouts there, and they came up to me first and said I look like Fritz von Erich, and I was like, oh, it's my grandfather, and they're like, what? They freaked out. Yeah, they couldn't believe it. And
great impression.
Right?
Yeah, and then and I was this is my brother Ross, and they, you are Von Erich and you were brothers. And so it was awesome. It was the first time that we experienced the name value in a different country. And we were in the beginner class, but because we were new to wrestling, but they still invited us for the 3-month tour. We really didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, but so we just accepted. But yeah, we'll do it 100%. But we fell in love with the Japanese style, and I'm so glad that my dad sent us over there, because if there was any quit in us, Japan would have gotten it out, because if you don't love wrestling and you're down there and you're forced to do it, it's every day. You live, breathe wrestling. Our dojo, we lived on, there were cinder blocks with a piece of plywood and then a sleeping bag on top of the plywood. That's what we slept on. And believe it or not, it becomes cozy after a while. Like my little bunk bed, man, I had like little tally marks, how many days I was there. And we're like day 60 or whatever. And then, like, I don't know, it was the day we were leaving too. You look back, like, you're so excited to go home, and kind of felt like it really wasn't going to happen. And it made me fall in love with Hawaii too, because I'll never forget coming back from Japan, flying into Kauai, and it's mystic and green and beautiful, and you just have been envisioning it in your head for 90 days. You've been thinking about it. The hard part was we only came home for, I think, 7 days, and we had to go back for 3 months. And so that was the that was the bummer. And I had gotten a girlfriend, and so I was like in the puppy love stage. And I was like, dude, we don't have to go. And Ross was like, dude, we're going. We have to go. Dude, man. Wow, man. Yeah, it was nuts.
What's the price? Paying the price.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pay the price the other guy won't pay.
Yep. It's one of the benefits of having your brother, when it's like, oh, nope, we got to make a hard decision, man. We got to go back. This is going to be good for us. It's, as much as it sucks to leave your loves behind, it's like, nope, we got to do this. And obviously it clearly paid off, because you guys are just freaking killing it. And 100%. This is like, man, this conversation's awesome. We've got more to talk about here on AEW Unrestricted when we return after the break. Unrestricted. AEW Unrestricted. We got Von, Erichs, Aubrey, and Will. We're talking about lots of stuff. Man, I just really want to go to Hawaii again after that last segment. It's just so freaking great. Oh my God. So we kind of briefly mention it, just sort of the relationship with Shibata you guys have, and then Marshall, your gear being very, very simple and whatnot. I'm kind of curious, like, what was was there a conscious decision between you guys to have sort of like different gear and to stand out with each other? Because I know, like, Ross, you've got the long tights and you wrestle in shoes, and Marshall, you don't. Yeah. So what was sort of the reasoning there?
I think rebellion. I want Ross to dress more simple.
We started off almost identical. We had like matching stuff, except I always had the kick pads and stuff. And he's been barefoot since day one. And then I don't know, one day I just tried wearing pants, and it was just, I don't know, just felt more natural to me. I don't know why.
I like it.
Yeah. When you go, that was a tough pill to swallow. When you first get into wrestling and it's foreign to you, and feel like you're going out there in your underwear pretty much. That was hard to get used to. Especially our debut in Japan was at Yokohama, and so it was like a big match, and I was still trying to get past, like, I feel like I'm wearing tighty whities right now, and I have to go look comfortable, and so or look like I'm confident and comfortable and supposed to be there. So that was I was definitely, pants were in my head. I was like, man, it would be a lot easier, but I didn't want to wear pants and no shoes. I felt like it would look weird. So
I agree. I think it's a good mix. If you were going to go the no shoes route, I think the trunks definitely work. So good decision there.
Yeah, my dad, though, he can do no knee pads and doesn't look weird. Like, if I do no knee pads, it really does look like I'm just in my underwear. But for him, for some reason, he still looks like a fighter. I don't know why. He can pull it off.
Yeah.
I love it.
I was like that, too. I remember I thought that it was just like being in my underwear. The first few matches, I thought, man, I can't believe I'm going to go out there part naked. But you get way over it. You really feel it. You feel it at first.
And then eventually you just get used to it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Eventually, yeah.
Well, one experience I wanted to ask you guys about, because it's two names that are really important to both the AEW family and Ring of Honor lore. But almost 2 years ago to the day, you guys got to wrestle Jay and Mark Briscoe at Ric Flair's last match. You talk a little bit about that experience of working with Jay and Mark, and what would be, we obviously didn't know at the time, but what would end up being some of the last of what Jay Briscoe was able to do.
Man, that was probably the most unique experience or unique match we've ever had. Marshall, you can go ahead and tell them all the stuff leading up to it and everything.
Well, yeah, because we went to the Pro Wrestling Noah dojo, and there's pictures of them all over the wall. They were like us, but they were like about maybe 5 or 6 years before us. They came to the dojo, did exactly what we did, and then it almost felt like we were chasing them because all of our mentors said, watch the Briscoes, because they're an American team, they're brothers, and so we loved like their dynamic and how they like communicated. And my brother and I, we're pretty weird people. Like, we're not super social. Like, we always we find a building, people like Dustin too. He's like, where the hell do you guys go? You guys just disappear. But we like, we'll walk around, we'll walk around the building, go on the roof, just get our heads together, talk or whatever. And we never met anybody else like that until we met the Briscoes at the Ric Flair show. And I feel like it's hard to get close to either Ross and I when we're separate, but when you talk to us both, you can get closer to us for some reason. I don't know why. And the Briscoes it kind of felt like that. Like, we didn't hit it off super hard when we first got there. We were really, really late to the show because missed flights and delayed flights. And then we had gotten there like maybe 15 minutes before our match. So our match got pushed to I think it was semi-main event. It got pushed back. Wow. And so it was kind of cool. Like, oh, sweet, we're on the last matches now. But when we got there, we didn't have time to really talk about anything. So it was a lot of just improv. And when we went out there, we had the match. Right after the match, we just fell in love with those guys, man. They're real brothers. They were so similar. There's so many similarities, and they gave us great advice. And it's hard to meet. When we were growing up, we hated seeing brothers that weren't close. Like, man, you got a brother, man. Like, go hang out. Like, you see brothers at school that wouldn't talk to each other, or had different friend groups. And it always kind of bothered me. But when me and Ross, when we went to Japan, we got really, really, really close. And it gave me a ton of respect for my dad, because I have one brother, and every story I have in professional wrestling, he's a part of it. He was there the entire ride with me. And you've heard that saying, your parents, they're not in your life long enough. Your kids come in too late, but your siblings are there for the whole ride. And my brother's been there from the start. And so I got one. My dad had 5, and for him to lose that, it made me and Ross just treasure the relationship we have together. We really try to not think about yesterday, don't look too far in the future, but just be in the moment, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And so just to be in the moment and have a brother to keep you conscious of that all the time. If I start stressing out about something, it's like, you're making it, don't take yourself so serious. It just having someone there to constantly bring you down, or bring you back down to just to a normal level. It's made wrestling so much, because I don't know if I would wrestle without my brother. I really don't know. It would be, if I started without him, I could see how it could, but now it'd just be too painful, because I every memory I have of wrestling, the smell of a locker room, every bit of it might remind me of my brother. So I have so much respect for Mark, man. Every time I see him, I want to cry, because I just love the guy so much. And when we saw him last time, I was telling him, like, dude, the whole world loves you, man. And it's almost like you feel like and he's just so like kind and genuine. I would do anything for Mark, and I think the whole world feels like that too, especially the pro wrestling world. I think he's just a great man. He really is just a great
Mark
dude.
Briscoe's like everyone's favorite person. He's just the absolute
100%.
best.
Yeah,
Absolutely love
100%.
it. I want to talk more about sort of the brotherly love and all of this, but I want to hear kind of Ross's thoughts on being a part of the match with the Briscoes.
Yeah, like you said, we showed up like way late. We had to get dressed in the Uber on the way there, and we just got out in full gear and ran in there, and like had probably 2.5 minutes to get a general gist, and then go out there. And then it was just, we kind of had to go out there thinking, okay, at the end of the day, we're professionals, and we're just gonna make do with what we got. And man, just working with them, and then them being exactly where you expect them to be, and vice versa. It was a lot of chemistry. I think we just just, hit it off, especially after the match. Because before the match, like, couldn't even really talk or anything. But after the match, we had, that moment when we're all just kind of, rejoicing about, it was like, man, we made it happen. We made it work. It was fun. And, man, I'm never going to forget that. It was, what a great experience. And then being at Ric Flair's, his retirement match again, it was, awesome. It was huge for us.
It's a lot of history in wrestling. Oh,
yeah.
Man. Kevin, sort of a question for you as a father. You're obviously very proud of your sons and everything they've achieved in wrestling. But I'm curious kind of what your thoughts were when you found out that the boys really wanted to pursue wrestling.
Well, yeah, my dad tried to discourage us from wrestling, and I really thought that I discouraged them with the Japan, and moving them out in the middle of the ocean, but they wanted to do it so much that there's no stopping. They were going to do it, and that's just, I had a long career in wrestling, I wrestled all the champions in their prime, and when y'all talk about the Briscoe brothers, it reminded me of Jack Briscoe. I wrestled him in St. Louis and around Chicago and all, and he was real quiet. Jack just didn't say a thing, and I mean, there were so many great champions. I was able to wrestle all of them, and I was just, but Jack Briscoe was a great champion. He was like textbook. He did everything well enough to be the champ, and I mean, I don't take anything from away from Ric Flair or Harley or Dory or Terry Funk or even Luthez, because they were all good men, but each one had their own. You can take Harley Race. I've told people before, he was like a battleship. The harder you put, what more you put Harley through, he liked it. He wanted more. I mean, that's Harley. And now Rick is smart. Rick would take us, we're young kids. He'd get us in the ring, make us get exhausted and he was an expert. He knew exactly what he's doing. And, after you've wrestled one or two times, I'm always going to be in shape and I'll never get tired in the ring again. But he'd do that on purpose, and
yeah.
And Dory and Terry Funk were like that. They were just the best ever. And I would say they were like Harley and like Rick. They were smart, but they also knew every hold, every takedown, every finish, every submission, everything. They were just experts. And so I was really fortunate to be able to wrestle with so many of them. But those made me think about Jack Briscoe, because he never said a word.
Yeah. There's so many people in wrestling. Like whenever you say like someone like a champion who doesn't say a word, I immediately think of John Moxley, who's just kind of like quiet, like sits himself. But the moment you get him going, you're like, oh, he's going. Like so great. As we're kind of winding down, Kevin, I just want to ask you, what does it mean to you to have your boys carrying on the Von Erich name and sort of creating this new chapter in your family's history?
Well, there was a time it seemed like it was all about just winning that big match, but then it developed differently. When I had my brothers with me, we were always so close, and we were good at wrestling, and so we really started liking it a lot more once we started doing it. We liked it just at first because my dad did it. But then we started getting really good at it. We knew what we were doing. We understood the business. It just got more and more and more fun. And it became more about things we do together. Like that 6-man tag title to us was bigger than the world title. I'm not just saying that. I really mean it. It was. And that's just the way it is. I guess it's because you make little personal milestones that you hope to achieve in your career. And as they go, it's just, your career just gets bigger and bigger, and one day you think, oh, hey, I'm famous, and I would have never thought that, I thought it was just adequate. Yeah.
Oh man, this has just been such a great conversation, guys. I want to thank you all for making the time to chat with us today. Ross, Marshall, congratulations on being the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Champions. Kevin, I'm just so happy that you've gotten to be a part of your boys' journeys and this incredible moment in both Ring of Honor history, but also the Von Erich history. It's just been so great, like getting to know all of you. You're all just absolutely fantastic. Just smiles all around. I love it. It's you guys are the best. It's so
Life
awesome.
is good.
Yeah,
Life is very good.
You're
Life is
awesome,
good.
too.
I
Thank
love
you
it
so
so much. Oh, you guys are the best. This is AEW Unrestricted. You can listen to new episodes of our podcast on all of your favorite audio platforms on Thursdays. You can watch the video version and see all these wonderful boys smiling as they all talk about all the things that they love. New episodes every Monday on our YouTube channel. You can watch Dynamite on Wednesdays on TBS. You can watch Rampage on Fridays on TNT. You can watch Collision on Saturdays on TNT. And of course, you can watch these guys representing Ring of Honor Thursdays on Honor Club. I am Aubrey Edwards with my best friend, Will Washington. Thank you so much for listening to AEW Unrestricted.